So today I'm going to be addressing one misconception about the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I find it very amusing that most of people think everything about our laws are contained in the Constitution. While you may be right, but it will shock you to know that only a few of our laws are found in the Constitution. However, everything is linked to the Constitution. I give you an example with the regulation of companies in Nigeria. If you go through the Constitution, you will not see anything that talks about company registration, ease of doing business in Nigeria. But how does that emanate from the Constitution? Business relationship, company activities is regulated by the Company and Allied Matters Act. That Company and Allied Matters Act is an establishment of the National Assembly that made it into an act. Now, the National Assembly itself is an establishment of the Constitution. So you see how all these things are linked to the Constitution. That is why today we're taking our time to explain things that you need to know about the Constitution. In this video, I'll give you 8 things that you need to know about the Constitution. You will find it very educating. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel, hit the notification button, and share this video so that other people will also learn from me. So let's go to the things you need to learn today. So number 1, the Constitution is free, otherwise known as the Supremacy of the Constitution. This simply says that any law, policy, regulations, or whatever done by an individual, an organization, or in any place that becomes contrary to the provision and the spirit of the Constitution, that law, that rule, that policy will become null and void to the extent of its inconsistency with the Constitution. Now, what this is saying is, if I decide to enter into any agreement or a company decides to come up with a policy for the staff, if that policy violates any provision of the Constitution, then that policy is null and void. That policy can be challenged on the ground that it is against the spirit of the Constitution, that it is illegal, that is unlawful. Now, this is something you need to know about the Constitution. So the Constitution is the supreme test for every policy, for every law, for every bylaw, every regulation, whether that regulation is coming from a government body, from an individual, private sector, organization, anywhere it is coming from. Test that it must pass is that it must not be inconsistent with the Constitution. So if you're watching this video and you have any policy or rule that is inconsistent with the Constitution, know that that law, that policy, that rule cannot stand. Educating, right? Very good. The second thing you need to know is that the Constitution provides and establishes the 3 arms of government: the executive, the legislative, the judiciary. All these are an establishment of the Constitution, and the Constitution did not only establish them and stop there. It established the executive, split out the roles, responsibility, the duties of the executive. It also goes ahead to tell us there is a body called the legislature. And then who are these legislators? What do they do? What is their function? Is all embedded in the Constitution. Then the 3rd arm of government, the judiciary, is also an establishment of the Constitution. So anytime you hear of the Constitution, remember that the Constitution gave the establishment to the 3 arms of government: the executive, the legislative, and the judiciary. Number 3, the Constitution provides for what is called the fundamental rights of Nigerians. In the Constitution, it has split out about 11 fundamental rights. They are called fundamental because these rights are inalienable rights that the citizens have embedded in the Constitution. Rights like right to life, freedom of movement, dignity of human person, right against discrimination, right to unmovable and immovable properties. Anytime you hear of fundamental right, you have infringed my rights. All these rights are establishment of the Constitution. They are provided for in the Constitution. Another thing that the Constitution has provided, that is taking you to number 4, is that the Constitution has provided for who is a Nigerian, how you can become a Nigerian, and how you can even denounce your citizenship as a Nigerian. So when you begin to talk about I'm a Nigerian, I am an indigene, my brother, it is the constitution that provides for who is a Nigerian, who can become a citizen of Nigeria, how you acquire the citizenship, how you denounce your citizenship. All this is an establishment of the constitution. Number 5 is that the constitution has provided for age bracket for whoever will be elected as member of House of Representatives, member of the Senate, and who becomes the president. Now, for the member of House of Representatives, the Constitution has provided that the person must at least be up to 30 years before he or she can be elected as a member of House of Representatives. Now, for the Senate, the Constitution said the person has to be up to at least the age of 35 years before he or she will be elected as a distinguished senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And of course, for the president, the Constitution says that person, he or she must be at least 40 years before he or she will be elected as president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. All these laws are contained in the Constitution. I hope you are following and you are getting this gist. Now let's go to number 6. Number 6 is that the Constitution has provided for the process of impeachment of the president and the vice president. Very interesting. It appears this is one of the few provisions of the Constitution that have never actually come into place in Nigeria. I don't know. Number 7 is that the Constitution has provided for detailed processes through which states can be created. We all know that we have 36 states in Nigeria, but it has not always been like this. Now, how are states created? When? What are the criteria? What are the procedures? What are the steps to take? Is all provided for in the Constitution. So if today Nigeria wants to create more states, they make recourse to the Constitution. They make recourse to what the Constitution said, and that procedure has to be followed in detail. Once it is followed, then more states can be established. So when you hear people agitating for this state or that, it is contained in the Constitution. And if you don't follow the agitation of creation of state through the procedures of the Constitution, then that cannot come into play. The last but not the least, number 8 of the things you need to know about the Constitution is that the Constitution provided for judges of all the different courts we have. The criteria for their selection, the procedure for their selection, and their responsibilities is all provided for in detail in the Constitution. So I'm very sure at least you have gotten some highlights on the Constitution, things you can say that these are contained in the Constitution and these are the provisions of the Constitution. If you have learned something from this video, please give us a thumbs up, hit the notification button, subscribe to this channel, do well to share our videos. I remain Ishaku Joseph Shirime, your favorite lawyer.